Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Love. I am Tanya E. Randall, and
I'm Jerry Randall.
guys, y'all know, well, before we get into anything, we're going to open up in prayer because we are super excited and what we're going to share on today. So, shall I do the honors? Sweet. Father, in the name of Jesus, God, we thank you for this show on tonight, Real Love with Jerry and Tanya Randall. We thank you for every viewer that's going to watch this on tonight, tomorrow, next day, whenever they watch it. Let it be a blessing to them. Let them pull some nuggets out. And we give you glory for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Now, hey guys, hey Drea, hey Ann. I'm laughing already because I don't know if y'all hear the somber in Jerry Randall's voice. I wish I could go in before the set time to start this show, but you miss all the good nuggets. I'm going to have a separate camera kind of set up to catch those moments. My statement, but the statement that was given to me by my husband, because I told you I was going to have a moment where I could bring something out, and today I got something to bring out. He called me selfish. He said, "You are so selfish." He said it just like that. No, nothing. He said, "You are so selfish." Hey, Ashley, how are you? Hey, Eddie. I said, "Really?" He said, "And you got the nerve to use the line that you always come through for me." That was a poor line to throw in my face for that one. So let me rewind and go back and share why he called me, of all people, selfish. And I need y'all, I need y'all on this one. Please, guys. Y'all, he had y'all for like 2 weeks to throw some stuff out there. I need y'all right now. So this morning, our alarm went off at 5 o'clock a.m. So needless to say, 5:30, we start marching, getting up out of bed because he's getting ready to go to work and do a full rip of a job on the roof and do a whole new roof. Me, I get up because I got to come downstairs to my office and start getting things together mentally on set for what I'm going to film today. I worked all day. He worked all day. His labor for his job is physical labor. Mine for mine is mental. Now, he'll probably add in that his is mental and physical also. Keisha, he called me selfish, Keisha. Wait till you hear this one. So nonetheless, he just got home 25 minutes ago. But on the ride of him coming home, I called him at 6:09. I said, "Baby," he said, "Hey." I said, "You on your way home?" "Yes." I said, "All right." I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to get things together for the show." "The show? Oh, I'm not doing the show." I said, "Babe, we made a commitment." I said, we have each other's backs. This is what we do. I'm not doing no show. Bye. Gotta go. So he automatically hangs up the phone. Now I believe his worker, my buddy, had probably some little conversations to throw in there in the midst of that. But needless to say, I stayed down here. I said, I'm not going to be upstairs. I'm staying down here right in front of the set by myself all day. Boom, there it is, because I know he's coming through. So I heard the shower water run. I said, yes. When he came down the stairs, I kept a straight face. I didn't look to the left. I didn't look to the right. I kept a straight face. And when he sat down, he said, "You are so selfish." Now, people, I need y'all out there. Was I selfish for asking him to come and do these amazing episodes in this show of Real Love that we made a commitment to, regardless of? Help me. I ain't get no help. I'm not even getting no help from you right now, huh? Yeah. Somebody said, "Oh no." Keisha said he should have left work early and enough time to rest. Trina said, oh no, not my boss lady. Uh-oh. Somebody told you to go repent. He is not having none of these. You see, he's still quiet. He's going to warm up as soon as we get on the topic. But again, I need some help. Even for those that watch this after, I need some help. Because here's the thing, and this is one of the things that I realized. I always, and his job is a little different than mine. His is labor. Mine is mental. But in the midst of it all, commitment is commitment. Do you agree?
Yes, I do.
So was I wrong for making you do the show tonight?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I told you.
Tell them what you told me.
I told you.
What you told me?
I told you the type of day that I had and how my body felt.
And when he said that, do you know what my response was? I said, Baby Cakes, after the show, I'm going to make sure I give you a full rub down from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. I'm going to make sure that I make up for every piece of the hard day that he had to make sure that he can relax.
And my face is fixed. I'm just exhausted. I'm tired. I'm beat. It's not my face that needs to be. I just need to rest my body and my mind.
You want to lay on my shoulder?
Like, that's why I said she's selfish, because I told her one of my guys didn't show up today. So everything like fell on me to make up the difference. And she didn't get it, man. Like, yo, my toes hurt, my fingers hurt, my back, my knees, my shoulders, my hips. You know what I mean?
This is real love right here. This is real love. Y'all are getting it fresh, right off the press. I'm rubbing his knuckles.
Keisha, stop the nonsense, Keisha.
I'm rubbing his knuckles right now. And tell him, take the rub down. I got him. I got him covered. So listen, we're not going to dwell on that because y'all not really helping me today, but we're just going to get right into our subject today. And thank you, Trina. Thank you. I do understand. He doesn't realize it. That's how women are wired.
Thank you, B, man. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, you put a smile on my face with that comment, man. Thank you, man.
Oh,
thank you for understanding me. You know what I mean? I'm wearing the black and yellow today too right now, man.
That is something else. So, guys, listen.
I'm with Cousin Jerry. Let him rest. Yeah, I'm ready to do the show now because some people understand me. That's all. That's all I needed was somebody to my wife couldn't understand me, and I just needed somebody to understand me.
Boy,
so we can do the show.
Oh boy. Yeah. So today's episode. Oh boy, he's not gonna let me let this one down right here. Today's episode is don't run every time trouble hits your relationship. So I'm so glad that we're not runners because this could have been a different situation right now because we could have gotten into a complete argument and Real Love would have probably aired, but it would have been just a little bit different the way it started. It would have been a lot different. So, oh boy, we got my sisters up in here chiming in. So, guys, listen. This is what it is. Hi, Hakeem. How are you? We miss you. We miss you so much.
What's up, cousin Chris? What up, Hakeem? Baltimore in the house.
Oh boy. Here we go. So listen, here's today's episode, and we want to get right into it because we want to start with something fresh, and we're going to let that go. So today's episode is don't run every time trouble hits your relationship. And there's a few things that we want to talk about that really is an important factor because so many times we've seen couples in relationships, as soon as things start to get bad or as soon as things start to get challenging, the first thing that, one or the other does is they run. And this has been something that has been, learn from the history of relationships or just from guys on the street talking, and building and talking about relationships. Everybody knows how to pick up the bag and pack the bag and leave. But the thing that we have to realize that we're talking about today is how to stick it out. We have to learn how to stick it out when the fire gets hot. Because if you don't learn how to stick it out, one of the very first things you'll continually be is a runner. So a few things that we pointed out to talk about that as far as being a runner. And one of the big things that we wanted to talk about is how you check out and check in, and how you check out and run. This is some of the things that sometimes people are not physically aware of what's taking place and what's happening when we become runners. Because a lot of times people don't even realize that they start to develop a pattern of how they begin to run. So when we talk about we check out and we run, what are some of the things that we do first when we start to check out and run? First, it starts mentally and psychologically. You start to almost soup yourself up that you don't need to be here. Or you start to talk to yourself what is aggravating you or irritating you about that individual that you're with to justify your run. And this can be not just for females or not just for males, but it's for both. And a lot of times we've seen it in committed marriages for years. We've seen it in people that are dating, and we see it in those flings that, people have. And the one thing that's different, flings we're not even going to talk about, because until you get to the soundness that you actually want to build a relationship, then we're not talking to you as of yet. We got you, but we're not talking to you yet. We're talking to the people that are in committed marriages and relationships and those that are seriously dating and that are looking to build something in their relationship. So you have to understand that before you actually start the run, it starts mentally and psychologically. You start telling yourself, I don't like this about her. I hate the way he does this. Now the nitpicking actually comes in first before you check out and run.
Absolutely. And you usually tend to focus on the negative things that's going on. So when you're in the process of checking out mentally or psychologically, you never look at the good things the person offers or the good things about the relationship. You always tend to focus on the negative things about the relationship.
True.
And that's what happens. You start to negatively talk to yourself. You know what I mean? You don't give yourself positive affirmations about what's going on. It's all negative. And then what happens is it becomes to the point where you obsess about this thing. Right before you take off and run, you start to obsess about all these negative things. You know what I mean? Never focusing on the positive things. And then next thing you know, you make a rash decision, you know what I mean, without, truly processing, all the information and making a sound decision.
Wow. So in other words, what Miles was just saying, basically, you already start the process mentally in your mind. So you've already justified your actions by the time you get ready to walk out the door, or by the time you get ready to check out. Because some people still stay, and I'm jumping ahead of myself, but there's a lot of times that people have already checked out of a relationship, but they still stay and hang around. So you don't create the value and bring nurturing to that, because mentally you've already said, I'm no longer there or involved or vested in to the relationship. So that not only that mental and psychological plays a part, but emotionally start to shut down, start to create that cold shoulder.
Yeah.
See, running doesn't automatically just start. Think about a jogger. Think about a marathon runner. Think about people that are in the gym and exercise. A person that is actually serious about their run, their jog, or their exercise regimen. Some of the first things that they do is they prepare, they stretch. They do, little warm-ups to lead to what it is they're going to do. In relationships, people do the same thing. You start with your warm-ups. The warm-up is, I can't think of the word, let me insult her, or let me insult him, or let me belittle them, or let me say something that's going to give me a reason to walk out that door. Let me say something that's going to justify why I'm going to sleep out on the couch instead of getting into bed with you. So all of these things turn around and they actually start to manifest. And now when the emotions kick in, you already check out.
Yeah. You do.
I'm loving him tonight for this. I am loving him tonight for this. But it is so key that your emotions and women's emotions are a lot different than men's emotions. But when you turn around and you look at both, men check out emotionally and don't create no heart to anything they say. So sometimes the man's words can become cold, or they can become very sarcastic. And women, ours can become very snootish, because we want to make sure that we penetrate at the heart where it's going to hurt. And a lot of times, sometimes, and I say a lot of times, but most often, people that stay, but you're still in the relationship running. Because when you throw jabs like that emotionally, you start to cause the other individual to shut down even the more. And if you're not careful, after a while, you become more roommates than lovers and husband and wife. You miss the attributes of growing and building a relationship. So that's something, that I wanted to just share, because I think that that's big when you're talking about emotional, runners.
Yeah. And running it's funny because what we don't realize is like those generational curses that we have attached to us. And running is either taught or it's a learned behavior. Either you learned it from seeing it from somebody, or somebody taught you how to run.
Right.
Most likely it could have been a mother, it could have been a father, but someone taught you how to run. You seen someone run. Runners don't just learn how to run on their own. It's something that was taught to you, or it was something that you picked up and learned on the journey called life. And what you have to do is unlearn that negative behavior. Right. Because if you run now, you're going to run later, and you're going to keep running. You're going to run the rest of your life until you learn how to stay stationary and stick some things out. Because guess what? Life is trouble. You know what I mean? The scripture says that man was born into trouble. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have obstacles. We're gonna have hurdles in this thing called life. So why run every time an obstacle presents itself on your journey, in your path? You constantly just try to avoid, going over and around. You just retreat.
Right.
We have to unlearn that behavior and learn how to fight for what we want.
Yeah. And that, when he said that, when you think about it, men and women both, we've seen it. A lot of times, the men around you and your family, they may have never settled in. And one of the things that I always think about, a lot of men never really had the chance to be that single bachelor, to have their own before they came into a relationship. Most men, and I'm not saying all men, but most men left either from your mother's home to go into somebody else's home, or you left from the streets or from an institution, or you left, just from family members, and you entered into another, thing. And you've seen down the line how it's so easy to just, hey, you know what? I don't have anything really vested here. Let me pack up and go, which is why when we start to talk about building together and understanding in some of the earlier episodes, if you go back and recall, it's great to build together, to start something together, because the first thing that the enemy, your mind and everything else will tell you is that you don't belong here. You don't have anything to hold on to. And now when that emotional running takes place, you've already mentally and physically checked out. Now emotionally, you're learning how to detach yourself so that the walkout doesn't become so difficult. And this is why a lot of times people feel like, I could easily get over it, especially for men. Because women, we sometimes like to hold on to the baggage. We like to hold on, to the picture, or hold on to the clothing, and then we become vindictive, and the things that we deal with and we hold on to. But you have to realize, if you've already got to the second phase of allowing yourself mentally and physically to check out, and now emotionally to check out, then now you turn around and the whole thing comes back after that is physically. You make that move now. And there becomes now no level of attachment, no level of turning back. And now you don't want to hear anything. And sometimes people don't physically walk out the door, but you make hell in the relationship so that both parties feel like, I can't believe that I'm actually living in this real hell. And it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. So, you know, when you look at and work on that part there, the last thing that I wanted to put in that nugget for that is some people are seasonal runners or special occasion runners.
I know a lot of them. I know a lot of people. When the holidays come around, they break up with their girlfriend. Yo, people run. I mean, like they was like, yo, listen, man. I don't want to get no gifts. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be with you on Valentine's Day because I got a side piece. So you run.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm just saying, it's those seasonal, special, occasional runners, man. They special, man.
They're special.
They special.
They're special.
They are special.
And think about this: seasonal runners or special occasion runners. It doesn't start right there at that moment. See, like we just talked about, the 3 phases, that starts first mentally and psychologically. You start to break down and find excuses or reasons during that time of the relationship, so that way, by the time you get to that point that you really need, and it may not necessarily just be a holiday. It might be, for the summer, I don't want to be committed. Or it might be, you know what, in the winter, I don't want to be hugged up with you. Like we talked about last week. It's amazing that during this time of the pandemic, people are now finding out they don't like one another. And they're finding reasons and excuses. Well, I don't like your hair. I don't like your face. I don't like the way, you know, your feet move, you know, while we're sitting, you know, watching, whatever it is. But
and it's funny because I was talking to somebody just recently, and they had an issue with something that had transpired, and they had asked for my, not opinion, but they just wanted to talk to me, and I just gave them some advice, and it was crazy because I said, you know, just because someone has done something and didn't include you, don't mean that, you know what I'm saying, they're one, doing something wrong, or two, don't love you. So the person said, why? How could that be? You know what I mean? Like, don't you want to be with the person you love? I said, absolutely. I said, but if I wanted to do something for me, right? And I knew that I wanted to include Tanya in this thing. This is what I said to this individual. I said, if I knew I wanted to include Tanya in this thing, right? But Tanya was going to hinder this thing, or it's something that Tanya wasn't into, right? Now, because I might not appease you or cater to your needs, you're not going to be happy. You're going to mess up my moment or my vacation. You know what I mean? And now we're both going to be unhappy in the situation. It's okay sometimes if a person wants to do something by themselves, but the person was ready to run. And I was like, yo, like, you want to run because this person wanted to do something by themselves? It doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they weren't thinking about, but you're not interested in what this person was doing. So you probably would have hindered. Just like sometimes when we go on vacation, we used to go on vacation. I was going
to just bring that up and use that as
we used to go on vacation with a lot of couples, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, everywhere. We went, you know, a few times with different couples because sometimes I want to do something that she's not interested in. So at least if she has someone there, you know what I mean, that she could do what she wants to do, then we could come back and do what we want to do together. But I was sharing like, yo, listen, I can't see Tanya wanting to go to Egypt with me and sit and look at the pyramids for 12 hours and just process the whole thing. She would mess that moment up for me. But I can sit in front of the pyramid of Giza and look at it for 12 hours and just wonder at the marvel of it. You know what I mean? Like when we was at Niagara Falls, I just sat and looked at the wonder of all that water going over Niagara Falls. And she took some pictures of me, but I could have sat there for hours and watched the water. But it would mess. She wants to go do something else. And so I was like, yo, you ready to run over something that someone wanted to do by themselves? It's like, shame on you to me. You know what I mean? Just because we're married don't mean that I can't do things by myself. You know what I mean? And you could do something by yourself where it causes you to feel like, oh, no, that person don't love me, or this person, you know what I'm saying, they don't. No, man, that's not true.
And, you know, that comes from knowing one another and having that communication, not shutting down mentally and psychologically. I was thinking about one of the trips that he had gone on. It was supposed to be our vacation, going to Mexico. Did you guys go to Mexico?
Yeah, it was Mexico.
You know, and when they went to Mexico, he went with his family and some of his cousins and everything. But I had a business trip in my ACM business. And I went to a convention and I knew that I had, you know, meetings and different things to go to. I didn't want to damper on him, even though I definitely wanted to go to Mexico. But I knew if I would have gone there, my mind would have been on business because it was a critical time in my business, you know, at that point. There's some things needed to be done. So we made that sacrifice and he went to Mexico. I don't know if I was in California, wherever I was. But the thing was, it was something that was talked about. And see, I didn't get an attitude when he said, well, okay, I'm still going to go. I'm going to go with the family because that was a discussion to have. So that wasn't me to turn around and get the attitude and say, well, I can't believe you're still going to go when I got X, Y, and Z to do. And then now puts a run in me to shut down. You have to begin to realize that communication is the greatest asset to any part of your relationship. And when we're talking about seasonal runners, you got to be able to notice and identify when the enemy creeps into your relationship to try to make you or force you to run. It's just not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So, you know, when we look at this, you know, with the seasonal runners and the special occasion runners, you got to be careful of your patterns. Because a lot of times we don't recognize and see the patterns of what we develop when it comes down to that. Now, I'm not going to say that we turn around and keep, you know, doing, well, okay, you go to Mexico another year or go another vacation and, you know, I don't go and do, and it doesn't become habits. So you have to realize and understand what makes the triggers in you being a seasonal individual that takes off and run. What are the triggers in your life that turns around and make you not value or appreciate the relationship to where you figure you got to turn around and run? And sometimes you run to other things, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you know, sometimes we, you know, run to other people, other situations, and we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. But think about this, and this is another part of what we were talking about as far as the running. Two completely different people are coming together to build one life. If you don't understand this as the foundation of a relationship, then you will run every time. Your relationship will fail every time. We had to realize that when we said I do, he wasn't saying I do to be Tanya Randall or Tanya Brunson at that time. And I wasn't turning around and marrying somebody where I became Jerry Randall. That wasn't it. He was Jerry Randall. I was Tanya Brunson. We came together as one unit. And when you're dating, when you've made a commitment, you are coming together to start the plans to building something that is phenomenal. But what you have to realize is that he has who he is as an individual. I have who I am as an individual. And remember what we said. We don't bring 50-50. We bring 100-100. And when you bring 100-100, it comes to where you have to understand, what is it going to take in order for me to keep this relationship? What keeps you there? Because once you understand this is a different person, I'm a different person. What is it going to take in order to keep us there and keep us together? Keep us excited, keep us, you know, thriving, keeping us, you know, reminded of the love that we have, because it plays a big part. And I love, who is that? Rosa just said, balance plays a big part in a relationship. So I used as an example an architect. So if an architect turned around and designed this building, he rolls up the blueprints, brings it on the job, and at that site, you got the general contractor, you got the contractor, you got the plumber, you got the electrician, you got whoever else that come, AC, HVAC individuals. You got all of these people that come on the scene. Imagine if he's the electrician and something went wrong, and here I'm the plumber and something, you know, might have gone wrong. And now the general contractor says, you know what? I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. I'm out. Now the blueprint has already been established because, again, you have a full picture, I have a full picture. But every part of that building together, it needs to be together, not apart. Because if the general contractor runs off, now the general contractor can say, you know what? I'm taking all my workers with me. Everybody else turn around and they start to take off. The building is never complete. And it will never create the beauty of what it needs to create, or will never be the structure that it needs to be structured where it is. Because guess what? Somebody around you is watching your building. They're watching your relationship. And if every time the only thing, and which is why, he always talks to our sons and, to our daughter, listen, you can't always run as soon as trouble hits your relationship.
Yeah, that was a good example as far as the architect, because you have to be able to coordinate things. And coordination takes communication.
Yep.
And it takes planning. So a lot of times, if those three things were relevant, or come up in the midst of whatever is going on, you can get through it, because sometimes there is a lack of communication. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding, and sometimes it's quick that like I could go before Tanya, or Tanya could go before me, but sometimes there has to be order in order to get the job done. And especially when you're talking in construction. And that was a great example, even in a relationship, because sometimes, certain things need to take place before something else can take place.
Right.
You can't, you don't build the walls and then run the wires. You run the wires before you build the walls.
Yes.
Therefore, you're not working backwards and working much harder. So in your relationship, you want to make sure that the things that need to come first, you put in order. Even when you look at structure, everything that's structured has order. So your relationship should have some order to it. I like that thing that someone said about balance. And that it's the same thing. It should have some balance in the relationship. That's going to bring forth some order in the relationship. So therefore, you're doing things, the right way instead of doing things the wrong way.
Right.
Too many times we're so used, and that's because sometimes when we come into relationships, we come with our own agenda. Our own.
That's good.
I don't want to say our own patterns. And then I try to, because I'm used to doing it something this way. Tanya is used to doing something this way, right? So we got to have a middle ground, right? Yep. So the middle ground came when we communicated. But if there's no communication, you're going to tend to bump heads like rams do, and just make a loud noise. It's going to be a loud sound, and it's going to be a bunch of friction. Yeah. And that's what takes place a lot of times.
And because he brought up communication, this was one of the things that we wanted to, just kind of piggyback off of just for a second. You have to find the good moment again and build from there. And the greatest analogy I could use is something that just happened a few days ago. We were down here, we were editing, and I don't know if I did something, which it was probably me because I'm still getting used to and familiar to the Mac, but we ended up losing all of the footage that was on the computer. And this is why this came back to me so profoundly. Find the good moment again. See, I thought we had lost everything because I was looking at everything right there in my face. And then as soon as things were wiped away, I panicked. The anxiety, I got a little flustered. I got a little anxious. But through all of that, the first thing after we kind of calmed down, the videographer said, I'm going to go back into the system and go back about 3 hours. And when he went back about 3 hours, guess what was there? Everything that we had built and created. See, and this is where we're talking about, instead of continually going forward and still being mad at one another, angry at each other, ready to start to get the exit strategy and that plan so you can get out the door, find the good moment again. Go back and find the conversation that was good. Go back and find the hug that made you feel like you wanted to be in that person's arms for the rest of your life. Go back to the kiss that just really brought the butterflies back to your stomach. Go back to the meal that you might have cooked where y'all had the greatest conversation. You have to learn to find the ground and where you are so that way you can build from there again, instead of picking up from the emotional part, the psychological part, picking up from all of those places there. What do you say?
Yeah, finding that good moment again, making the the necessary adjustment. It's funny because I really am like feeling some type of way, not no anymore towards Tanya, but just physically and mentally right now.
I'm gonna take care of that.
And what I realize is it's all because of what happened this morning, you know, someone didn't show up, right? That I was dependent on, right? And it put me in a bind where I had to do a whole lot more than I was expecting to do. And I had to make the adjustment, not just mentally, not just emotionally, but I had to make it physically. And then making that adjustment, right? I was able to come through. You know, there was no doubt that, you know, rain, sleet, hell, or snow, morning, noon, and night, that I was going to come through for my baby, because she does always come through for me. But you know what I'm saying? But it's no doubt that I was going to come through. But it's can we make the necessary adjustments when something hits us? Too many times, like, it's like folding under pressure. You know what I mean? People break too easily. People get offended so easily, you know, which causes them to want to run. But can you make the necessary adjustment when something happens, man? Wow. When something, a wrinkle, you know what I'm saying, gets into your fabric, you know what I mean? Can you really iron that thing out? You know what I mean? Or are you going to sit there and allow that wrinkle to irritate you? Wow.
You know, and this was something that we just talked about and kind of covered a few seconds ago. But, you know, in him saying that, it just created, you know, an essence of, shoot, I feel that little warm, bubbly feeling on the inside. Because again, you always want to, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you are still complimenting the one that you love. You're still bringing the balance to the one that you love. When I made the statement at the beginning, I was serious about that. I said, you know what? I know we got the oil, we got the shea butter. I'm going to make sure that he's relaxed before he go to bed. Why? Because of the sacrifice that he made. See, it could have been easy that by the time, you know, the show was over, you know what? Now the attitude jumps back in, or you put on the facade in the show, you know, for everybody else. But when you become real with one another in a relationship is when you can really face it and embrace it. See, once you have the ability to identify what makes you run or what makes those triggers take place, because it could have easily been an attitude. I could have got upset. And even if he didn't come down, I was still prepared to do the show. But again, I would have still had to check myself, because I know the first thing I would have wanted to do was to go back up there and get an attitude and turn my back to him. And it be a long night. Now, we always lean over and kiss each other goodnight, but it would have been a mad evening, and I would have listen. It would have been real. But you have to face it and embrace it. And sometimes before people actually face it and embrace it, they walk off. Mentally, physically, emotionally, you start checking out, and it doesn't become, you know, any good to no one at all.
It's funny, especially talking about, you know, what are your triggers? You know, in order to know your triggers, man, you have to make an honest assessment of yourself. You have to look deeply into yourself and be honest with yourself. You know, I said it before. Once you're capable of being honest with you, you can be honest with others. You know what I mean? True. But if you don't want to, if you don't want to take the time, if you don't want to do the research on you, and you should be the most important person to yourself, and you don't want to find out, you know what I'm saying, you know, what really makes you tick, what makes you do certain things that you do. If you don't feel like investing time in you, you'll never be able to invest time in nobody else. That's the truth, because you should know you better than anybody else know you. Shouldn't nobody come to you and say, yo, I know you better than you know yourself, because they took time out, you know what I'm saying, to evaluate you, to watch you, to analyze you, you know what I mean, and make a proper diagnosis concerning you. And you haven't done that for yourself, you know. And too many times, and everything, you know, especially when it comes to stuff that's mental or emotional, it takes work. You know what I mean? And people, I'm telling you, we have so many people that really don't want to put in that necessary work. You know what I mean? But then they'll watch others do it and applaud them. You know what I mean? And maybe want, you know what I'm saying, that same thing for themselves, but don't realize, you know, the work. And people are telling you what they did to obtain it. It's just like you just don't want to do the work.
Wow. And that, you know, that's something that's so powerful. You know, you can't glean on the other fence if you don't understand what the other fence is doing. You know, and this brings us, you know, to one of the things that we were talking about, and we wanted to really get to, is confiding in others, because everybody's not qualified to hear your problems. And this is something that, you know, when you're talking about not running, the one thing that you don't want to do is talk to people that have ran. I'm talking about like present. See, it's all right to have a testimony to share your experiences as we're sharing our experiences. I think a few episodes ago, I talked to you guys and shared with you how Jerry, that was last episode, I think it was, where I told you when we had one of our first intense discussions, disagreements, that disagreement turned around and caused him to start snatching stuff out the closet and out the drawers, and he put that stuff in that suitcase and he zipped that suitcase up. He walked past me.
Suitcase.
That's a key.
Suitcase.
That's key, right?
Not a plastic garbage bag. Suitcase. I put my stuff in a suitcase. I ain't one of them dudes that was gonna leave and all my stuff going to a trash bag, and you throw it over your shoulder. You can not me. Suitcase. You know what I'm saying?
He did have it. Yeah, he had it all in the suitcase.
You know what I'm saying? Folded. You know what I'm saying?
See, a suitcase give
you just toss garbage and you just toss it in. Suitcase, you know, you traveling.
That's the intent to return.
Suitcase, you traveling. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know when you're coming back, but you're coming back. Yeah. But it's so funny because when he took that stuff and put it in that suitcase, zipped it up, walked past me, walked past the kids, everybody looking up trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And he turns around and he left. By the time he got to his mother and his aunt's house, and she said, "No, baby, you can't stay here." See, this is why Tori saying you left with dignity.
You know what I'm saying, Papa? You know what I'm saying, man. It's real, man. Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had that walk in shame. But I want to talk about something real quick. Confiding in others, and that's really good. You know what I mean? And it's so broad. That can be a topic in itself. Confiding in others. That can be a topic that we can do an hour on that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you know, I talk whenever I'm dealing with anything. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's personal. Outside of my wife, I talk to my sisters, period, right? Now, my sisters, because they're my sisters, happen to be women, you know what I mean? Mature, you know what I mean? Intelligent and articulate women, you know what I mean? Shout out to all my sisters, you know what I'm saying? So when I'm talking to my sisters, you know what I mean, about anything, you know what I mean? But it's good because sometimes, you know what I mean, as a man, right, you shouldn't be confiding in another woman. You shouldn't be going to talk, oh, she's my friend and I'm telling her everything that's going on and the whole 9 yards. Yo, that's out of order. That's out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? You're dead wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. You know what I mean? Because when you're confiding in another woman, you know what I mean? You're really giving that woman the ups on your wife. You know what I mean? And she should have nobody should ever have the ups on your wife. As a man, you know what I mean? If I'm not talking to my sisters about what's going on, then I'm going to talk to my brothers. I got plenty of brothers that I could go talk to. You know what I mean? Shout out to Cash. Shout out to Typoo. Shout out to Kareem. Shout out to Tim. I got plenty of brothers that I could go talk to. Shout out to my brother Marshall. I could go. That's my real brother. Yes. You know, I got plenty of people I could go talk to about what's going on. Why? Because you know what I mean. Sometimes, man, it's good to have. You know what I'm saying. That male perspective. That's why I was so excited when Isaiah Beaver, aka BVD, you know what I'm saying, said what he said, because sometimes it's just good to have that male perspective or that male understanding, because sometimes, you know, it's easy to think that we're crazy or that we don't make sense. You know what I mean? And when you hear it, like coming from a man, be like, okay, so you see it like this, and it ain't always that they're gonna agree with me, because sometimes they be like, nah, you wrong. You know, look at it this way. You know what I mean?
It has to be the right people.
But too many people, absolutely, too many people, you know what I'm saying, confide in the wrong people. You confide in yes men. Yo, yes man. They're gonna agree with you no matter what, man. What are you talking about? If you're trying to get right, go to somebody that got some real information, that got some real knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That got somebody just set up there that has a real testimony that's been tested and tried. You know what I mean? Yo, but too many people go for the hokey doke, man, and they go to people that's yes men. Yes men.
You
know,
and you know that's something that's so great, you know, in understanding that, because it creates havoc when you go to the wrong person to get so-called the right information. it doesn't balance itself out. What it does is it turns around and makes it a lot worse when you get back into the presence of the one that you loved and the one that you're professing, to be with. Sometimes people say, well, it's just guy talk. We're just having guy talk. Or, ladies, we're just having lady talk. But if they don't and can't identify with where you are, those mixed emotions, you bring them back into your household. You bring them back into your relationship. And now that mixture of, if we're married and we're looking for a solution, as a married couple, but some singles say, well, hey, it's all right for you to get an attitude. You can go to bed angry. Well, that single person might be saying that because they do go to bed, by themselves. And it's not like they're saying the wrong thing. They're saying the right thing, but it's the wrong thing for your situation. So a lot of times you have to know how to have the right people that you're confiding in at the time that's needed. Now, if y'all talking about fashion or cooking or work or business or whatever, men, you talking sports or whatever the case may be, that's fine. But a lot of times you really have to be particular so that you can continue to keep building. You never want to leave out your house to get information and come back in and bring the wrong information. And now it creates even more havoc.
Oh, what about the married people that talk to the single people?
Listen, it ain't cool.
Like they can understand your dilemma.
They don't understand.
They can understand your problem.
No,
you know what I mean?
They might be able to identify because you might see a good movie on Lifetime or Hallmark or something, But you have to realize that this is not play. It's real. When you're talking about real life, you talk about real love, which is why we talk about it and share real love, because it takes a recipe. A specific recipe to create real love. You can't just half at it and then turn around and say, well, you know what? This is not working, so I'm out the door. No, did you really see what it takes? The regimen, the little, the ingredients for each piece in order to turn around to keep making it taste even better. If I make a pot of soup, I might have missed something, but the next time I'm going to add that next ingredient. And then if I want to make it even better, I may think about, okay, well, I can add a little bit of this or a little bit of that in it to really create something savory. And that's what your relationship is. Y'all know I always bring it back to food. I bring it back to, I can't help it. I can't. But it's just such a wonderful thing. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about, because, we get ready to wind up because the show, an hour passes by so fast.
Absolutely.
We want to talk about arguments, and we're talking about arguments versus disagreements. Now, you might be saying, you know what, that's kind of the same thing, but, no, it's really not. Very far from the same. A few things that we said concerning arguments. Arguments tend to steal power from a relationship, because in an argument, somebody always wants to be right. So if I turn around and every time I look, I'm arguing with Jerry because I want to validate my point and I want my point to be right, you're starting to take value away from the relationship, because in arguing, the whole common goal is somebody wants to win it. And it becomes a hiccup in your relationship, and it causes people to run, because the first thing that happens is, well, if I can't win the argument with you because I believe I'm right, I'm going to so-and-so. And this is what we was talking about. You might find that female friend that will identify and say, you're right. Why? Because there's no vested interest in a relationship, at least not for that moment sometimes, but there's no vested, so they're going to agree with you. But again, it doesn't prove anything. So if you come back into your house and say, well, I knew I was right because I just talked to X, Y, and Z, and they said that they said I was right about the situation. You just snatched value from your relationship, from your marriage, because you just brought a third party in and told the person that you're looking to build with that a stranger outside of your relationship said that you were right. Value is already decreased.
It's funny that you said it too, because you said there's difference between arguments and disagreements. Now, and it's funny because my wife and I are super competitive. You know what I mean?
Very, because so that's an understatement.
A lot of times we got disagreements that's like meaningless disagreements, but in these disagreements, because we're competitive, we're core. Like we've had disagreements about
songs,
Jodeci and the thong songs.
I know, but here.
I don't know, but we would call people and like, yo, listen, but it's totally different from an argument. And the argument, you don't want to bring, you know what I'm saying, third parties into it. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to deal with that yourself. But in a disagreement, to try to prove a point, you know what I'm saying, especially when it's varied, you know what I mean, and you can use different points of views.
Right.
It's good to seek that type of help, and we do that all the time.
And one of the things I wanted to share, disagreements are different because we're different. And that's the one thing you have to understand. But at the end of a disagreement, no one should lose value in the relationship, but you should gain more respect for the individual. Absolutely. Because they tried, you know what I mean? In that process, like when we have those disagreements like that, and we're phoning and calling people, it's because we want to begin to, like what we just wrote down and said, we want to gain respect. Not to say that I'm right, because I still think that one of those songs, I thought that Cisco was a whole lot better than Casey and JoJo, and we were in ice cream stores and everything, and had strangers turning around, complete strangers and siding with one another. But in that disagreement, we did it to turn around and have our relationship create some value.
Just for GP, tell them who most people agree with, the strangers.
You want me to talk about this?
No, I don't want to talk about the incident, but most
the strangers agree with him.
Yeah.
Him
on this one.
On that one.
Yeah, but it was a big one.
That wasn't big. It wasn't super big.
No, that was a big
because you got to think most of those people was like back from the 80s during the time when,
so they know both people. That's why it was big.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So
yeah, but like
that was a disagreement, but we gained respect out of it because he think he's right. I know I'm right. No. But again, it's an amazing thing. And, one of the things that we want to share with you guys, no relationship is easy. It's just not. No. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to, go through losses and gains, and different things. But it should never put you in a compromising position where you're ready to take off and run. Go back and redo it again. We had, a couple last week. We didn't think last week that we did the show justice because the show really didn't have, anything that we were able to pull off of because we didn't go through, a situation like that. But I believe it was just the wisdom of, couples and different people that we've talked to that caused us to be able to share the information that we shared. But what happened was we had a few couples that actually reached out and called us in regards of the same thing that we talked about. And one of the things that was so exciting that we got to be able to witness and see was that by the next day, everything was squashed and settled to the point that they were able to pick back up again and get the relationship, restarted, reignited. And it was a beautiful thing to be able to see, because a lot of times you don't see yourself until you see yourself. And this is what real love we're trying to bring forth, that, sometimes these little nuggets of conversations, we're not relationship experts, but we are experts at what we've gone through. And because of that, we want to be able to share it, with individuals like yourself, and you may even share it with somebody that you may know is experiencing going through some of these things. But the last point that we want to leave out is that no relationship is easy. But we will say this: if you love an individual, you'll fight for that love and you'll root for it until the end.
Yeah.
No relationship is easy, but you do build it to get it better. And that's the whole key behind everything when you're looking at relationships. Don't be so quick to pack the bag, the plastic bag, the suitcase, and run. Take the time to find out your triggers, because everybody may not realize it, but every single one of us have a trigger that turns around and cause us to be able to have an attitude or to get uneasy, uncertain in the situation, relationship. And even, certain things like I was sharing with my cast on today. Here go Mika. The cast on today that I shared a real man's love in a woman's world. A lot of them, they were asking me, with the storyline. And I said, a lot of it came from, my past, my relationships, that I've gone through, and from talking to others. But what I realized is that in order to build and get into something great for the future, you have to realize that the individual that you're with is not the individual that you were with. So sometimes your trigger could be you're running because you see things that may be common, but it's not necessarily the truth. You have to realize that the relationship that you're in right now, the marriage that you're in right now, the commitment that you're in right now, don't compare them to the person of yesterday that you dealt with. Don't involve, attributes of what you did in a prior relationship to try to make it fit for this relationship. Because all it does is it turns around and it makes a mess of the relationship. And if you love the one that you're with right now, the one you're dating, the one that you've made that commitment to, if you love the one that you're married to and you got some years vested in and you're looking for some more years to come, then find out and learn that individual. And this is one thing that we find is so hard when we talk about relationships, it's not easy building. Don't be afraid to say you're sorry. And I'm not talking about sorry as an individual. Don't be afraid to apologize. See, if you realize, and men and women, in order to be real and transparent in a relationship, you have to be real and transparent with yourself first. See, if you'll lie to the person that you're with, that means that you'll lie to yourself. And a lot of times we lie in relationships because we've never been truthful with ourselves. See, I know my shortcomings, but if I turn around and dump them on Jerry and make him out to be the liar and the one that I can blame, I just haven't dealt with me yet. And this is why a lot of times people run, or people, you hide. You may not necessarily run, but you hide behind the couch or you hide behind the door because you don't want the exposure to be able to have accountability to build.
Yep.
So, baby cakes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did it.
I at least tried.
No, you did. You did it.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna before I close out in prayer, but I just want to say this. This comes from my sister Keisha Richardson, and she says this: if everybody in this world was just like me, what type of world would this world be? You know what I mean? Like, think about that. If everybody was just like you, what type of world would this be? You know what I mean? And it's really something to think about. Be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Hit us up in the comment section. You know what I mean? Yes. And tell me, what type of world would this world be? Yeah. If everybody in this world was just like you. Tell me. Hit us up in the comment section. And also, if you any questions, any topics, anything that you want to hit us up during with, you know what I'm saying, after this, hit us back up. Hit us in the comment section, man, and we'll definitely get back to you with a response. In-depth one, you know what I mean? Yes. You can call us on Facebook phone, you know what I mean? Yeah. We can chop it up like that, We
can have you live on the show.
Yo, whatever. But I really want y'all to think about that, man. If everybody in this world was just like you, what type of world would this world be?
Wow. That's something to think. That's something to think about. That's really something to think about if people really be truthful with it. Yeah. But that's a good thing. Jerry Randall, you know what? You did your thing as you always do. It's a beautiful thing. Next week's episode, guys, we're talking money, spending habits in relationships.
Let's talk money. I got to tell y'all what I'm saving up for, Facebook. I got to tell y'all what I'm saving up for, Facebook.
It's going down. I can tell you right now. You better stop clapping them hands because it's going down.
She told me.
Look, I'm about to cross my hands.
I'll save it for next week. She told me.
What I tell you?
What I can get if I get you something, but I'm gonna save it for next week. Ooh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ooh. She said if I get this, then you could go ahead and get that. I'm like, bet. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you gotta be careful what you put out there, y'all.
You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you got to. Because
let's talk money and spending habits and relationships.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna love this one. I'm gonna really, really love this one.
I'm gonna love this one.
I'm gonna love this one. Yeah, let's talk money and spending habits.
Because the holidays are coming around, and we really want to talk about this.
Absolutely.
Before it sweeps in, because your vision got to be bigger than a holiday. Yeah, it has to be bigger than a holiday. Yeah. It has to be bigger than.
Don't get caught up on. Don't get.
We're not gonna talk about it. Don't talk about it. We're gonna wait till next.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're excited. We hope this was valuable to you guys on today. We're very, very excited that we got the chance to share it with you. Go to our YouTube page. We're building our YouTube page up.
True that.
Yes. So
share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. because we want to be able to bring you some more great content and keep this going and share more. And like Jerry said a little while ago before he gets ready to close out in prayer, we want to be able to target and identify and talk about some of the things that, we may not. Now, trust me, I got 4 seasons written out with episode topics. But again, we want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you want us to be able to talk about and to discuss? What some of the things, this is that so amazing.
You may have dealt with and even gotten over with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not that serious.
Yeah. We
try to be transparent, and a lot of times so many people out here operate in secrecy, you know what I mean? And sometimes, you know what I mean, you realize that you're not the only one who's dealt with a situation or been through this type of situation, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hit us up, y'all.
All right.
We appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
Lord, I thank you for us.
Thank you. Yes,
God. And we thank you for everybody listening.
Yes.
We pray everybody's safety in the matchless name of your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. We love you guys. We'll see you next Saturday.
Thumbs up.
Same time.
Thanks everybody that tuned in.
Stations.
Thanks everybody that commented. We appreciate all the comments.
Yes. Good night, guys. Love you.
Yes.